a little break. She'll be here all day. She's part of our, it's the dream team. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? There we go. We're giving away some stuff, so we got to get excited about that. So, this attendee must have Halloween on their minds as they ask for anything orange. So, where's Anna Kruger at? Hi, Anna. So, let us help you get a head start on your decorating. Ron is right behind you. There's some goodies in there as well. Easy to transport on the plane. That'll be your carry-on. All right, so the next dream we would like to present is for someone who requested a fast-forward license. Will Kelly Looney please stand up? Hi, Kelly. So you will receive one fast-forward license for a student fee. Just email me, and I'll take care of it. All right? Awesome. Thanks,
Okay, and finally, this request was from someone who had a huge dream, very big dream. So we might have to go home because we can't go quite as big. But will Sherry Wilson Romero please stand up? Right here? All right. So Sherry, you asked for a classroom set of iPads for 20 students. We're going to start you off with one.
All right, and don't go anywhere. We're just going to jump into the next presenter. We're just setting up the laptop, so feel free to just get more comfy. Just like 60 seconds. How's everybody doing so far? Good? Good morning? Feeling good? Lots of fun last night at dinner? Carol was on fire with the trivia last night. Man, she knew all the answers. By the end of the night, we were down to just me and Carol at the table. And we went all in on 30 points at the end and then lost it all. So we went big. Can we bring that back next year? Yeah? All right. Thought Family Feud was fun as well. That was a blast. Okay, so I have the pleasure of introducing the next presenter. Bobby Simma has served students, teachers, parents, and patrons in 3 Oklahoma public school districts for 37 years, serving initially as a teacher for 13 years and a principal for the past 24. He is an active member of the Oklahoma Association of Elementary School Principals, where he has served as district representative and president, the Cooperative Council for Oklahoma School Administration, where he has served as executive committee board member and chairman, and the National Association of Elementary School Principals. He is an avid fast-forward advocate, an accomplished musician and pianist, and is married to wife Dana and a public school music teacher. Give it up for Bobby Simma. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm going to make one correction today. It's short-eyed Simma. But that's okay. All right. I had no idea that I was going to be exhausted when I came up here to speak. But I feel a little bit out of place with all of these brilliant minds around me. However, I will say that I have my own field of expertise. If you come into my school, go into the boys' bathroom, if you attempt to clog up the drain and sink with a paper towel, with the intention of flooding the bathroom, I will catch you. I have a 100% prosecution rate. Again, I am Bobby, so I'd like to introduce a couple of friends that are out with me. From Perkins, Oklahoma, we're seated right over here. Rhonda Hover, this way. Rhonda's our, Rhonda is our Title I reading specialist, also an avid fast forward user, and then Jill Wheatley, second grade reading intervention teacher. It's very important to me to have these two ladies here. We attempted to come to Orlando in February. I know there are people in the room who were there. And we arrived in Oklahoma City in a winter storm to find that our flights had been canceled. And I was very disappointed. The worst part, however, was thinking I have to get back into this car and drive on these horrible roads back to Perkins. But I want to thank Scientific Learning as well as Corey Arms, who's really responsible for my being here. Corey's not here at the conference this time, but I got a surprise contact from her back in August asking if I would be willing to do this, and I thought about it for a little while and then decided it might be a fun experience, so we'll find out. I noticed that this slide right here seems to be this seems to be a very significant slide here at the conference. And I would just like to make it clear that I am not employed by Scientific Learning, and I have no stock in the company. Here's my home state. I want to just kind of tell you a little bit about the town where I live and serve in Payne County, north central Oklahoma. It was founded on April 22nd, 1889 by Land Run. I have a great grandfather who came to Oklahoma and Land Run, not the 89, but another one. It's the 2010 census population of the town of Perkins in Payne County was a little under 3,000 people. We have a district, school district student population of 1530, give or take a few. We have a large student population for our town size, but we are kind of a bedroom community for Stillwater, which is home of Oklahoma State University, and so that has a lot to do with that. Okay, I want to back up about 15 years and begin by telling you that I came into the Fast Forward program on what I consider to be a fluke. And it was sometime in the 2004-2005 school year. I'm working in another district in Fairfax, Oklahoma. Now, if the name Fairfax, Oklahoma rings any bells, I'm just curious to know, has anyone read The Killers of the Flower Moon? All right. Oh, well, okay, there's one person. Okay, well then we'll just skip that part. But I'm working in Fairfax, which was up in Osage County. It's the large county to the northeast of Payne County, very heavily steeped in the Osage Indian culture. All right, our student population was about 60% Native American, 40% Caucasian. The district is a consolidated school district. Woodland was the name. Two small towns, Fairfax and Ralston. We had a huge land area of school district, but a very small student population. We weren't very dense with people. About 450 kids total, K-12. All right. Very rural, very poor. My school's about 85% poverty at the time. And we were a member, our district was a member of an interlocal cooperative called the Osage Interlocal, County Interlocal, that served about 12 different school districts in the area. Originally, they were all in Osage County, but they added schools along the way that were not. And this institution primarily existed to write grants for the member schools. And they did a lot of great things for us. They put a speech path in my school, helped support us in special education. And they had written a 21st Century Community Learning grant for our school that was in operation at the time. Okay, so I'm about 8 years into a 12-year run at this stop in my career. And anyway, the 21st Century Community Learning grant's important. You'll find out in just a second. Well, we're working our way through the school year, and one of my kids' parents stops me one day. She told me asked me if I'd ever heard of a program called Fast Forward, because her son was using this product in private speech language therapy that he was receiving over in Kansas City. That's a town about 30 miles away. That's the closest Walmart to Fairfax. Right? And she thought I might be interested in this. And well, I was completely unfamiliar with it, but she thought it might be a good thing for us to put in our school. And so I, like any good principal does, I get a lead, start looking, and I went to the website, I read about it. There was amazing information there. I was impressed with the levels of research behind the product that I was reading about, and really became quite captivated with what I was reading. So I did make a contact with the company. Probably, I don't remember what it was. I probably asked for a demo or a trial or something. And as I got to looking a little closer, I discovered, well, this program was going to come with a very high cost. And those of you out there who are customers know all about that. And at the time, that was going to be between $70,000 and $80,000. Well, like any good principal, all right, then I got that information, I completely dismissed it. All right, because who has that kind of discretionary money laying around? All right, not us, not me. And so we worked our way through the school year, got the school year completed. It was June of '05, and I'm working on the summer side of my work. Our superintendent had retired, so our district was without a superintendent. Our board had named an interim high school principal. And so things were things weren't running quite as smoothly as they normally did, because just the channel of things at work wasn't running like normal. And so I'm in the office one day and I get a phone call from Elaine Farron, who was our encumbrance clerk. Well, she said, we have a problem. We have $300,000 in this after-school grant that has to be spent in 2 weeks. Or we're gonna lose it, all right? Well, I've never run into that problem. And so, I was just kind of shocked there for a minute. And, honestly, having no money to spend is terrible, but having a lot sometimes is not real great either. Because the first thing I thought was, okay, we want to be smart about what we do with this money. We want to make a good investment with this money. So I called our after-school program director and laid this news on her. And her eyes popped out, of course. And after she regained control of her faculties, we began to think about, okay, what kinds of things can we do for our school with this money? And we came up with some good ideas. We talked about, of course, it had to be aimed at the after-school program, all right? But the beauty of that was that whatever came in for the after-school program was also going to land into my regular school day. Okay? I could use whatever they had to benefit all kids in the building who were there during the regular school day. So, we figured out some good things. I'm a musician, as you heard by the introduction. We invested in 7 or 8 Yamaha keyboards, located someone or made plans to have someone do a little keyboard instruction when school started the next year. Of course, if you're going to teach kids how to play the piano, you need to have a nice piano to play, all right, for them to perform on. So I Anyway, I remember, fast forward, and I told my director about this, and we revisited all of the information that I had previously gone through. And she liked the idea. I thought this looks like something we should do. And if it was as good as they say, then we were about to make what would be a lifetime, high impact investment in our school. We could use it with the after school kids, but I could enroll every kid in the building into it, use it during the school day. So we purchased the program, and Corey Arms was my contact at that time. I'm sure we had many conversations, I've forgotten all of them, but she reminded me of a few when we talked recently. She came to Fairfax. This is a thriving little town of 1,500 people. And she did a parent meeting for me in our school auditorium. I wish I could show you a picture of it. It was built in 1921. It was in deplorable condition. I was embarrassed to take her in there. Our superintendent had been praying for a tornado to come through. And I had 12 to 15 parents show up to the parent meeting. And, you know, I was a little embarrassed that I did not, after heavy advertising, that I did not have any better response. But, you know, we work in public school, we know what to expect sometimes. And that didn't daunt Corey and her enthusiasm at all. So she gave them her best, and we got started. A trainer by the name of Pat, I can't call her last name, but she came from El Paso to help us. And some of you old timers probably remember Pat. What was her last name?
Durga.
Thank you. It was something different, I couldn't remember. Pat came to train us at our little school, and we started learning. Now, another great benefit for me during this year was to attend Scientific Learning's National Circle of Learning Conference. Found out about it. It was in Atlanta that year. I saw Pat there, and that was really where my aha moments all started hitting in. I heard Dr. Marty Burns speak there, and was just amazed as I listened to her talk about research behind the product. She talked about the stretched speech that occurs in the courses, and I thought, this is brilliant. I had the luxury of 2 computer rooms in my building, and one of which our first through 4th grade students had been using a Pearson Success Mate product, which was good. But that was curricular. And I had come by another 25 workstations recently that I put in another room, and we dedicated this toward our fast forward work. Now, many of you will never know what this was like, but back in those days, all right, your product didn't run through the internet. I installed what seemed like 50 CDs on every computer, all right? And, you know, went from workstation to workstation to workstation. I might have done 70 or 80 in the building, I don't know. I thought I would never get that done. And then something created, I don't know, we had a problem, and I ended up doing that whole process again. So I got really good at it. Got a little faster as I went along. But anyway, we were ready to go. And so we started everyone at that time, 1st through 4th grade, in fast forward language, which of course predecessor to Foundations for Language. And we did not have, I didn't have the luxury of a lab manager. Now, everything that I had seen in pictures and videos and so forth showed this lovely little lab manager who ran the fast forward lab, and You know, the teachers just delivered their kids to the fast forward lab, and that magical person just did it all. And you know, I didn't have that magical person, so I became lab manager, and which was great because I learned. I learned along the way. And our teachers also learned along the way, because guess what? Since there was not a person in the lab, guess what? They took their kids to the fast forward lab, all right, and learned to manage, monitor, you know, beginning steps. They also, I enrolled all of them in SkyChat and said, we're all going to do this. And because they needed to know what the kids were doing. But my favorite moments were all complaining through Skype from teachers who said, I can't hear the difference between us. And which, you know, hopefully became an aha moment for them. But guess what? The teachers and I all passed SkyGym. We made it to Jumper Gym, all right? I don't remember if everybody passed Jumper Gym or not, but everybody began looking, you know, our kids were completing the courses. I'm looking every day at our classes and, you know, looking for that beautiful little green circle that says, I'm done, so that I could enroll them in the next course. All right, now, some of you are going, why did you have to do that? Well, because there was no RPI. There was no reading progress indicator at that time. It came along a few years later. And so I just, you know, I was the person who moved them from course to course to course. And our kids did well. I loved watching the progress as I was checking screens daily, looking at reports. You know, I learned how to look at those better. I learned how to call for help. And I just attempted to teach the teachers everything that I learned along the way. And this is the way that it ran until I left the school in 2008. Now, I told you a moment or two ago that our school was low. It was high poverty, but we were an oddity. We were high performing. And you know, you hear so much about high poverty schools being down at the bottom. And, you know, maybe it was where we were. The building was full of great people, great teachers. There was great teaching going on. We had good curriculum. We weren't fancy, all right, but we were what I consider to be solid. And it was a great little school. So it was, you know, in this time that our glorious Oklahoma State Department of Education began establishing, you know, the whole No Child Left Behind, if you're old enough to remember that, you know, was hitting us hard, and we were figuring out how to manage through the NCLB, and, you know, we had these, what were called API. Anybody remember the API? Academic Performance Index. Perfect score was 1,500. That meant everybody did, you know, perfect on the test. And in our little nut place of a place in Fairfax, Oklahoma, our 3rd and 4th graders were taking the state test, and our school site was scoring APIs in the 1400s. You know, it was remarkable. But you know, we're also using this fast forward product, and I'm going, okay, this is making a difference. I didn't have a story like you read about on a website where the 9th grade student gained 5 years in reading, all right? But it was just little things, all right, that I saw that I thought, this is making a difference for us. And we were proud, all right? Well, again, I left the school in 2008, moved to Perkins, came to work at Perkins-Tryon Elementary School. And in my first year there, now, as I came to that school, guess what one of my goals was? You are such bright people. I wanted fast forward for my school. And that was, looked like it was going to be a tough task. I was moving up in affluence, all right. Our poverty rate, let's see, let's go ahead and move on here. Picture of our school in Perkins, Oklahoma. I'll take a little time out here. We are a pre-K through second grade school site. 438 students when I left the building on Tuesday. 44% poverty currently. So that's like half the poverty rate where I came from. That makes a difference, all right? You've never seen that. As I said, we are pre-K through second grade school site. The best part about our school is we are a non-state test school, all right? Because it means that state tests begin in third grade. All right, so I have no state tests in my building. We used to, all right, 6 years ago, I did have third graders in the building, but we restructured our grade alignment in the district. Third grade moved out of our building, and that happened at the same time that the third grade retention law kicked in Oklahoma. And so the principal of the next school hated me because she inherited that problem. And I looked at myself and thought, I think I've got a few good years left. All of our first and second grade students currently complete daily 30-minute fast forward. Rhonda, our reading specialist, also utilizes the reading assistant in some of her work. All right, let's back up. So I'm now at Perkins. I'm with this program. I got another phone call. This was from the superintendent of my previous district. He told me that that elementary school that I had been at for 12 years had just been recognized by the Oklahoma State Department of Education as a high-performing school in the state, and paid a cash award to every teacher in the building.
Wow.
He said, you don't get a check, but you get part of the credit.
Wow.
It was a fun day. I didn't care that I didn't get the check. I was tickled for those people, but after I hung up the phone, I said to myself, I know fast forward helped make that happen. Now here's the sad news. The principal that replaced me at the school, all right, was a teacher in the building, and she was my choice to replace me. And she bowed to teacher pressure and did not continue fast forward use in the school. And it broke my heart. And still does, and I even reminded her about it last week. And my goal is to get him back in to use, hopefully. Okay, so how am I going to get fast forward at Perkins-Tryon Elementary School? I thought a lot about this, and wasn't quite sure how it's going to happen. But one day, the superintendent came to visit, and it was one of those nice days. He said, "What would you do if you had $7,500 to spend?" That's the only time that ever happened. But I told him, I said, I would buy fast forward licenses, and I proceeded to tell him all about the program. And actually, since that day, I've told him and our board so much about it that they're probably tired of hearing me talk about it. I have constant communications with parents that are in when I tell them, what their kids are using, because I just am so excited about it. One of the secretaries out front called me Mr. Fast Forward 2 weeks ago. So they all learned about it as much as anybody else, because they hear me in all of these conversations that I'm having with everybody else. So I think that's kind of exciting. Well, anyway, the boss came through with the money. So, what do you think I did? I bought 40 one-year licenses of the product because that was how I could get it the fastest. All right, now I've had a perpetual site license at the last school, all right, and in my heart, Santa brought me a perpetual site license was what I wanted, but I knew this is how I can get started, and so we began. First it's like, okay, who's going to use 40 licenses? Well, Rhonda, our reading specialist back there, she was finishing her master's degree about this time. Rhonda, correct me if I say something wrong, but she had brought me a study that she had read that had taken place back in East somewhere about reading intervention. All right, and what they had done was they had taken, all right, the group, say they're in their second grade class. Actually, I think they've done it with fourth and fifth graders maybe. Well, we didn't have those, so we applied it to who we had. They had taken their lowest readers, all right, in grade, and formed a homogeneous group that was still a grade level class, but they targeted these readers for intervention purposes, gave them everything they could, all right, to remediate, intervene, and to get these kids moving up. And so we looked at that, talked about it, we designed our own form of it, and employed it in our second grade, and in our third grade, because we still had third grade at the time. I think it was the last year that we had third graders. And we had two teachers who were on board with teaching these groups, which was going to be tough because you've got the 20 lowest readers in the grade together. All right, now, I've heard all the arguments for and against leveling of students, but the results of the study that we saw were positive. And one of the problems Rhonda had run into was, well, she had 3 kids in this classroom, 3 kids in this classroom, all right, trying to, coordinate all of that. It just seemed smart to put them all together. She could work in tandem with the classroom teacher, all right, come into the classroom, all right, which is going to be a new thing for her as far as Title I, and work kind of hand in hand with those teachers. And so we did that, and those 20 third graders and those 20 second graders got the Fast Forward product that year. Now, the next challenge was, how do we deliver the product to them? Because I have one 25 station lab, we're hitting 600 kids in the school, we're close to it. We want, everybody getting to the computer room. But we found a way to get those 2 targeted groups into the computer room daily for 30-minute protocol. And so that's how we worked that year. All right, did this make a difference? Well, remember, state reading test, this group is going to take a state reading test for NCOB purposes. And when those third graders took their state test that year, in late spring, we got the results back, and not one kid in that group scored unsatisfactory on the reading test. Okay, now, if there was anybody primed to score unsatisfactory on the state reading test, it was every kid in that third grade reading class, or in that third grade class. All right, and I was astounded. All right, I was just amazed. Did Fast Forward contribute to that success? Absolutely, I believe it did. All right, and the icing on the cake came the next fall when the state released the second report card on our school, and we got a name. We earned a B the prior year, the first year of the release. All right, and so they worked out all the problems with for the second release, of course. But we got an A on that report card. The third graders had shipped out of my building, all right, by then, so we weren't gonna get another report card for test purposes. And we remained the only A that any Perkins-Tryon School District building has gotten through the years. All right. Did that contribute to that? Absolutely, I believe that it did. Okay, so, all right, well, the next problem began, of course, the year's gonna be up. How do I get it again? And somehow, it's probably federal money, I don't remember. I do serve as federal programs director for the district, and I have great control over how the federal money is allocated and spent, which works out kind of nicely sometimes. And so I don't know, somehow I got those 40 licenses again. I was able to add 10 to it. Rhonda had some first graders we moved our intervention group to second grade and then to first grade. All right, same principle, applying to new grade. And I think, of course, I want that site license. I need that site license because I wanted every kid in my school to touch this product. I was thrilled for what it appeared to be doing for my at-risk readers, but I wanted everybody in it, knowing that it would only enhance the abilities of the kids who've already got it. All right. So anyway, Andrew Lopez, some of you remember Andrew Lopez. He was my consultant. I talked to him on the phone a lot. He put me in touch with Donovan Burns Foundation. I know there are other people in the room who have benefited from Donovan Burns. Through Donovan Burns and other Title I money from our district, I got the perpetual site license, and I went back to NCOL, heard about, I still had a problem. I've only got 25 computers to put kids on. How am I gonna get everybody to it? And that problem was solved by when Fast Forward became available on iPad. I heard about that down in Dallas, came home, said, okay, we're going to do it on an iPad, got 25 iPads, put this room together with big judge chairs, which are kind of cute. Scheduled every first and second grade class to come in through the room and complete their protocols. Did that for a couple of years. We deployed, I wish I was better with the motivations, but there's so much work to do. But everybody who completed language, we took their picture and hung it up on the wall. That's my friend Campton over on the left, and then that's Darcy Robinson, who was one of our first grade teachers at the time. Teachers all completed it again. It's important. So you do that. We acquired more technology with the acquisition of an OETT grant in 17, which brought 100 iPads into the school. And this is our current setup in second grade. We have a room that second graders just rotate through the day, completing their protocols. And first graders do it in their classes, in the classrooms. I've never thought about Chromebooks, but someone gave me a great idea of using Chromebooks. One problem that we experienced in first grade was because kids were now, as I showed you in this picture, every morning when I got to school, I would go in, pull up the chairs, I would take the iPads off the chargers, connect the headphones, make sure we had audio so that they were ready to work. But the kids didn't manipulate headphones, all right, on these devices. But when you start moving toward, when kids begin doing that, all right, we begin having a lot of headphone jacks break off in iPads, which just, so kids break everything. And so I found a great Bluetooth wireless headphone used with the iPad. It's great. This came from Amazon. We get everything. We get everything at Amazon. I don't know what we did before Amazon. But those have been great. I highly recommend those. And of course, we have a great charging station. And then use this little Sabrent 60 watt, 10 quart family sized charger to charge our headphones at. Real quick look at some of our data. This is last year's data. You see all the dream checks down at the bottom. We hit all the magic numbers and went above. Best part is if you look at our strugglers, all right, from pre-test to post-test, all, 35 struggling on pre-test, but 31 to advanced, all right. To follow that, I shot a picture of our data before coming. Our rates are great. Again, we've shown like 24 days of use of the product and showing 5 months of gain already, which is very impressive. And what do you have to do? What do I think you should do for implementation fidelity? First of all, principal better be on board, because nothing gets done without principal decisions. Teachers need to know, they need to be trained, they need to actively participate. Establish a schedule for use and stickers. We work real hard to make sure we get it done every day. Consults with these brilliant scientific learning people make a difference. They help me so much. And they just monitor. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to me. I'm glad that I'm speaking before Dr. Talal, but I'm not after.
Bobby Simma, everyone. So in the interest of time, we don't have time for questions, but remember, we're here for lunch. Great time to walk up to Bobby and engage. So we're going to transition into our next session. We thought this year it'd be great to do an interview style with Dr. Paula Talal, one of the founders. So just kind of mix up the structure a little bit. What do you think about that? Awesome. Sounds good. So we're going to have a couple chairs coming up here. We got the mics getting ready. I guess I'll tell. So the mission of the day, the number one mission, personal mission. Don't spill anything on my white pants, right? Like 6-7 hours? Yeah, there you go. Taking bets over here with Carol, our bookie.